Old man, take a look at your life. That's become my new mantra. I need to remind myself to do that because if I don't, I might drift back into a kind of no man's land that I found myself in not long after I had retired. That's right, a few years back, I retired after spending over 40 years in the workforce. As far as I could tell, I'd done everything right. I had a generous pension all set up. I just bought a new home in a retirement active adult community. So now is the time to start enjoying the good life. But you know what? I just couldn't seem to get my footing. I had met some new people, I'd made some new friends. I remember talking to this one guy who just retired. He asked me what I was up to now, how I was spending all my time. And I told him that I'd been working out a lot at the gym because I really enjoy working out. And now that I had the time, I had some fitness goals that I was hoping to reach. And he responded something like, "Oh, I can't think of anything more boring than working out in the gym. Why don't you come out golfing with us or come out and play some pickleball?" And I told him, well, maybe. But all the while I was thinking how I couldn't think of anything more boring than going out to play golf or pickleball. I guess to each his own. Maybe when I had moved into this community, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, hey, I might take up golf or pickleball. They have some great facilities here. But I'm in now a couple of years, and I'm now pretty certain that that's going to be a hard no. I will never do that. I have absolutely no interest in playing pickleball or golf. But the only problem I have is I moved into this community which seems to have been designed to cater to golfers and pickleball players. That as well as for beer and wine, whiskey, and miscellaneous cocktail consumption. So I've been feeling like somewhat of a misfit. I've been retired almost 3 years now, and I'm still trying really hard to define for myself what the hell is my purpose now. So yeah, I tell myself, old man, take a look at your life because no one else is going to do that. They're all looking at their own lives. So in other words, I really need to get my shit together. And thank God for my wife. She reminds me of that fact all of the time. So one way I'm looking at my life is by starting this YouTube channel. Rather than bottle all of my shit up in my head, I'm going to try to express it with these little videos, these little talks. I'm hoping to get some feedback, share some experiences and strategies with old men like myself who are going through this retirement transition. So if that interests you, I invite you to come along. Maybe give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like, we can stay in touch. I'm hoping we can create a community of old men who can still talk shit and have something meaningful to back it up. Okay? As I launch this channel to welcome you, I want to give you something. I've been reading a lot about old men and their transition into retirement. I'm seeing a lot of common threads. So to summarize what I consider to be the most helpful things, at least to me anyways, I've written an eBook, and I want to give it to you for free. I call it An Old Man's Guide to a Purposeful Retirement. I tried to make it sort of a step-by-step process that I wish I had when I was headed into retirement. It even has a companion workbook that takes you through some simple exercises that hopefully will reinforce the concepts that are laid out in the guide. You can download both through the links below. Again, it's entirely free. It's my gift to you. I see this guide as a sort of a working draft. I already know that I want to change it. We're all learning as we go along, right? Let me give you a little preview of some of the things that I want us to dig into together on this channel in future videos. Underlying all of the future content will be 3 basic questions that I'll try to get us retired old men to constantly ask ourselves. Number 1, are you happy? Number 2, are you healthy? And number 3, are you safe and secure? I think it's common for men of the baby boom generation, who we are, to have gone through life making sure everyone else is happy. Their spouse, their kids, their boss, etc., etc. And they're not taking much time to ask themselves that first question. Are you happy? You know, it's a tough one for us to ask because you need to think about emotions and shit. In our generation, we're taught that men shouldn't do that. We aren't supposed to show any emotion because that's a sign of weakness. Fathers earned a living, and then they could be celebrated for their role as the family provider. No emotion was necessary. Now, this role as provider embodied baby boomer society's ideal of success. So the boomer man's success has always been directly tied to his career. And now retirement means the end of that career, right? And here's where the boomer man might have a problem. He might struggle to adapt to a different role once he retires. And this has been my direct experience for the last couple of years. I admit I've struggled. So on this channel, we're going to try to find and suggest ways to help us old retired men adjust easier to this new and different role. When we ask ourselves that second question, are you healthy? We're talking not only about the obvious physical aspect, but also the emotional aspect as it pertains to health. You know, psychology says there are 5 basic emotional stages that we all go through when we retire. Number 1, there's an anticipation stage. This is where there's excitement mixed with anxiety as we prepare to retire. Then we enter into the honeymoon stage, number 2. Once we do retire, when we're enjoying all the newfound freedoms from all the old obligations that we had at work. But that doesn't last too long, and we'll enter stage 3, the disenchantment stage. This is where old men like me get stuck in a rut because we might get bored or confused as to who the hell we are and what the hell we're doing with ourselves. Hopefully we'll end up in stage 4, which is the reorientation stage. I think that's where I am right now. This is when we finally do settle down and realize that life should be different, and we begin to redefine what that life is. And from there, we'll enter stage 5, the stability stage. This is where we've developed a whole new rhythm in life, a new routine, and it becomes a new normal, and we're really settled into it. So our interactions on this channel will hopefully lead to an understanding of, an acceptance of, and a resolution of these emotional stages, which will hopefully contribute to our ongoing emotional health. Now, beyond the emotional shit, I definitely intend to delve into physical health and fitness and offer some guidance there, as I've made that a major priority in my life. You know, I'm the guy whose routine is to be in the gym at 5 a.m. I'll work out a couple hours, and I do it 5 days a week. And that's been my routine for over 20 years now. It's served me pretty well, as I never get sick. There's only really been one negative health episode that I can even recall, and it happened to take place almost immediately after I had retired. I intend to discuss that in a future video. When we ask ourselves that third question, are you safe and secure? We'll be discussing this from both a physical as well as a financial angle. For example, I might ask, how's your housing situation? I'll ask that because I happen to have just completed a 30-plus year career in housing. That's affordable housing development, housing construction, and management. So I have a lot of experience and insights to pass on to you about a lot of topics specific to affordable housing and how to find it. And from that financial standpoint, we can go a lot of different directions. We can talk about investments, perhaps, best ways to spend our money, how we're spending our money in general. You know, but while a lot of us are secure in our financial situations, others might be a little less confident, maybe a little nervous about inflation and how that might impact our futures. So we can talk about ways for an old man to make extra money. Now, from my own point of view on this, I happen to have a travel addiction. My wife and I just love to travel, and we do a lot of it. So some supplemental income might be needed. Well, actually, it definitely will be needed to feed that travel addiction. So I am now actively pursuing different ways, and this YouTube channel is about one of those ways to add to my income. And I'll be sharing those things, you know, what's succeeding, what's failing, the how-tos as I'm doing it. And hopefully I can help other old men make some extra money to improve their retirements. So, old man, take a look at your life. My goal for this channel is to create content for you that has value, that old retired men can benefit from. If that interests you, please give a thumbs up, subscribe if you like, and we will all try to thrive as retirees. So I'm going to end it there finally. Oh, and don't forget to download the free ebook at the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to Old Man Thriving. We'll see you next time.